I came down from heaven. The bread of God is he which comes down from heaven and gives life unto the world. I came down from heaven. John chapter 6, verse 33 and 38, abridged. These words and others like them are misused to support the wrong idea that Jesus physically existed in heaven before his birth. Trinitarians take these words as literal in order to prove their point. However, if we are to take them literally, then this means that somehow Jesus literally floated down through the skies. Not only is the Bible totally silent about this, but the language of Jesus being conceived as a baby in Mary's womb is made meaningless. John chapter 6 and verse 60 describes the teaching about the manna as a saying hard to take in. We need to understand that it is figurative language being used. In John chapter 6, Jesus is explaining how the manna was a type of himself. The manna was sent from God in the sense that it was God who was responsible for creating it on the earth. It did not physically float down from the throne of God in heaven. Thus, Jesus' coming from heaven is to be understood likewise. He was created on earth by the Holy Spirit acting upon the womb of Mary. Luke chapter 1 verse 35. Jesus says that the bread that I will give is my flesh. John chapter 6 and verse 51. Trinitarians claim that it was the God part of Jesus which came down from heaven, but Jesus says that it was his flesh which was the bread which came down from heaven. Likewise, Jesus associates the bread from heaven with himself as the Son of Man. John chapter 6 and verse 62. It is not God the Son. In this same passage, in John chapter 6, there is abundant evidence that Jesus was not co-equal to God. The living Father has sent me shows that Jesus and God do not share co-equality, and the fact that I live by the Father is hardly co-eternity of which Trinitarians speak. See John chapter 6 and verse 57. It must be asked, when and how did Jesus come down from heaven? Trinitarians use these verses in John chapter 6 to prove that Jesus came down from heaven at birth, but Jesus speaks of himself as he which comes down from heaven, verses 53 and 50, as if it is an ongoing process. Speaking of God's gift of Jesus, he himself said, My Father is giving you the bread from heaven, verse 32. At the time Jesus was speaking these words, he had already come down in a certain sense, in that he had been sent by God. Because of this, he could also speak in the past tense, I am the living bread which came down from heaven, verse 51. But he also speaks about coming down as the bread from heaven in the form of his death on the cross. The bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So we have Jesus speaking here of having already come down from heaven, being in the process of coming down and still having to come down in his death on the cross. This fact alone should prove that coming down refers to God manifesting himself rather than only referring to Jesus' birth. This is conclusively proven by all the Old Testament references to God coming down having just this same meaning. Thus God saw the affliction of his people in Egypt and came down to save them through Moses. He has seen our bondage to sin, and has come down or manifested himself by sending Jesus as the equivalent to Moses to lead us out of bondage. Jesus being sent by his Father does not mean that he was sent from heaven. So let's look now at John chapter 20 and verse 21. So Jesus said to them again, Peace to you, as the Father has sent me, I also send you.